I need somebody that know when God show up, won't he show out? Won't he open doors? Won't he make a way? Won't he heal your body? Won't he do what no other power can do when God show up? Notice Jesus didn't show up until they gave up. I want to share with you today, my brothers and sisters, there's nothing wrong with giving up as long as you know who to give it to. When you give up, give it to Jesus. How many know Jesus is able? I heard the Bible reader say the other day, now unto him who is able to keep us from falling. When you're at your wit's end, give it to God. He's able. That's what he does. Watch what he does. They've given up. But he decided to show them a mystery. In that when you're at your wit's end, that's when God does his best work. That's what you need to know today. I know some of you are heartbroken. Some of you may be heavy laden. You may be praying for your children, may even be praying for yourself. May have trouble on your job, in your home, wherever that trouble may be. I come to share with you today. I've given you some mighty good news. Help is on the way. When you just hold, if you would just hold out till tomorrow, if you would just keep the faith through the night. I wish I had somebody that came along when I did, when they used to sing, if you just hold out till tomorrow. Oh, tap your neighbor on the shoulder and tell him everything. Not just one thing, tap your other and say everything. Gonna be all right. So Jesus shows up in a moment where they've given up. But Jesus does his best work when we take our hands off of it. Oh, somebody missed it there. I said, Jesus does his best work when we take our hands off of it. Jesus jumps in the boat, in Peter's boat, and said, listen, launch out a little from the land. The Bible said that Jesus sat down and began to teach them. Can I suggest to you today, my brothers and sisters, that when God shows up in a moment where you've given up, before he can actually bless you and bring you from that situation, he first of all has to sit down and teach you. You can't move from one degree to the next without learning something. Talk to me, somebody. You can't just mess up and then expect God to clean it all the way up and then everything just be all right. That's the perfect world. And most of us expect God to just, when we mess up, come on in and clean it up, and there'll be no consequences for my effort. But can I share with you today, if we're going to learn something about the goodness of Jesus, if we're going to learn who God truly is, when we mess up, there has to be a period of teaching where God has to show us the error of our ways. And sometimes teaching can hurt, because when God is teaching you, he's taking away from you. And most of us don't like to lose anything. But how many know if God take it away, you didn't need it in the first place? Tell your neighbor, he's lightening the load. He's lightening the load. But as he's taking away, he's also adding to. And as he adds to, he's adding those things that you're not comfortable with. And so when God is growing us, we're growing in an uncomfortable state. Because if we were comfortable, we would get lazy. But when he actually blesses us, he puts us in a state that we're uncomfortable with. Because if we're uncomfortable, we'll stay alert. If you know somebody after you, you ain't going to sleep. You're going to keep your eyes open. You're going to watch. You're going to make sure that they don't slip up on you. And it's the same way when God is blessing, or when God is moving you to another degree of grace, when he's taking you away from those things that are not like him, but moving you closer to the things that are of him. We've got to realize we got to stay alert. Jesus told the disciples the other day, While he was yet in the garden of Gethsemane to pray, he said, listen, I'm going a little further. Me, James, and John, Peter, James, and John are going with me. When he went out a little further, he says, Peter, James, John, listen, y'all stay here and watch while I pray. The text said that Jesus wasn't gone no more than about an hour. When he come back, one was slobbering out of mouth. One had his mouth wide open snoring. And the other one had his eyes open but still asleep. And Jesus said these words right here. He says, can you not stay awake for 1 hour? After I commanded you to watch while I pray, can't you stay awake for 1 hour? And I really began to ponder what Jesus was saying at the time. What he's saying is that many of us walk through this life asleep. We get up in the morning, our eyes are open, but we're asleep to the things that are going on in the world. And before we know it, when we wake up, we are already caught up. But can I suggest you today, my brothers and sisters, stay alert and stay awake, because the Bible said that the enemy is out to do nothing but steal, kill, and destroy. And he'll get you if your eyes closed. So he has to teach us. Because if he's going to bless us, he's got to prepare us for the blessing. And by preparing us for the blessing, he teaches us. The text says that he sat down and he taught them. While he was teaching, they found themselves further from the land. And Jesus looking out, noticed that their nets had been cleaned. Notice their nets were with them. Jesus makes a command. After he taught them, he gave them instruction. God does not bless us without, first of all, teaching us and then giving us instruction. Now, the problem is we don't always follow the ways of God, but we follow our own way simply because we've been around here a long time. And we got the audacity to believe that the Lord can't tell us nothing. I knew it would get quiet in here, but the reality of it is that sometimes when God is speaking, we turn the volume down to 0. Because we don't want to hear what God has to say, because there's some things we want to do. But can I share with you today, my brothers and sisters, if you want to truly receive the blessings of God, turn the volume on 10. Turn your mind on to him. And tune in to WJESUS. I guarantee you he has a word for you. And if you listen to what Jesus has to say, your life will be a whole lot better. We like to do what we want to do. Growing up as a child, Mama and Daddy gave me instruction. But I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And 9 times out of 10, what Mama and Daddy told me not to do, if I did it, it didn't amount to anything. It caused me more trouble than it did pleasure. And the problem with most of us is that we are so into being happy. You want to ask somebody, how you living? And they say, well, I'm blessed. He said, yeah, I know you're blessed, but are you happy? Can I tell you, happy is temporal? Because you can be happy for a moment, but then you can turn around and be sad in the next. Don't hang your head on happiness, because happiness don't last long. Can I suggest that you change your happiness to joy? And don't let man give you joy, but ask God for his joy. Because he had the type of joy. I wish I had somebody know anything about joy. He has the type of joy that's unspeakable. And storms may rise and you'll still have joy. Winds may blow and you'll still have joy. You may lose everything you have, but you still have joy. Grandmama said it like this joy that I have, the world didn't give it to me, and the world can't take it away. I suggest you put happiness to the side and grab hold of some joy. As he teaches them, he says, listen, okay, I've taught you. Now I got to instruct you. He says, launch out into the deep for a draught. Now, draught is a large number of fishes. Check the study of the word draught. The word draught is a large number of fishes. Jesus, before they even dropped a net in the water, speaks this word. Launch out into the deep for a large number of fish. Yeah. So before they even put the net in the water, Jesus already says you're about to catch a large number of fish. Y'all with that? Seemed like to me, if Jesus said it, that ought to have been enough for me. Seemed like if Jesus said it, that ought to have been enough for Peter. But you got to realize, I told you who Peter was. Peter was a fisherman by trade. And Peter had fished all night. Not only that, here it is. It must be morning, because Peter said, listen, we've toiled all night and we've caught nothing. So evidently it must be morning. And Peter knows that in the morning, when the dew falls, the fruit from the tree, and everything that's from the trees, anything that's loose in the morning, when dew falls, if it's heavy enough, the elements from the trees fall down to the water, and therefore the fish come to the shallow, because whatever falls from the trees normally falls at the bank. And so Peter knows that this is not the right circumstances for us to catch a draught of fish. What Peter's really saying is, listen, we've toiled all night out here and we've caught nothing. Now, if you want to catch some fish, I suggest we go back to the shallow. It's not there in the text, but I'm just implying from a fisherman and knowing what I know about fishing. Early in the morning, if you're closer to the bank, you can fish from the bank, because what falls from the trees, fish normally come to the top to eat what falls from the tree. And so Peter said, listen, we in the wrong place for a drought, because we've toiled all night long and ain't caught nothing. You might want to go back to the shallow. That's us today. We are very comfortable in shallow water. We're so shallow when it comes to our relationship with God. We're so shallow when it comes to our worship. We're so shallow when it comes to working in ministry. And we're shallow because shallowness is comfortable for us. And everybody like to be comfortable. But can I share with you today, if God's going to do great things in your life and in the life of the church, you've got to step out of shallow water and launch out into the deep. I need somebody here to know what it means to launch out a little farther. Shallow water ain't good enough. We need to go out a little farther. This church been treading on shallow water for 40 years. Preach, Reverend Kerr. I know we're going to get quiet then. Y'all think I'm talking about you. Shallow water for 40 years. Because, see, what shallow water is, when you're in shallow water, you can see all the way to the bottom. And so you know what's there before you even try to get there. That's kind of where we are. We don't like to go anywhere further than what we can see. But can I share with you today, Macedonia? I'm coming to put you on notice today. Listen, we're going to move out of shallow water. And we're going to start stepping into some things that we ain't seen yet. Because the Bible said that eyes have not seen, nor ears have heard, neither has it entered into his heart all the things God has in store for you and me. I need you to get up and tell somebody today and encourage your neighbor and let your neighbor know, neighbor, you ain't seen nothing yet. Yeah. Jesus said, Peter, launch out into the deep for a drought. Peter said, Jesus, We've toiled all night long, and we've caught nothing. But I like Peter today in that Peter didn't give up because he realized who gave the command. And when Jesus gives a command, no matter how I feel about the situation, I ought to be willing to do what the Lord said do. Do I have a witness here? For the Bible said that Peter, even though they had toiled all night long, I like Peter didn't stop right there. I like the fact that he didn't stop right there, but I heard him say, nevertheless, at your word, I'll do what you told me to do. And the Bible said that when they launched out into the deep, they said that the net got so heavy till the net began to break. And I heard the Bible say that they began to call on the ship that was beside them to launch out in the deep as well, because the net that they had was breaking and they needed some help. And the Bible said that they came along and they let down their net, in so much that both boats had began to sink. And I heard Peter say, Father, forgive me, for I did not know what I was saying. For he bowed down and worshiped. But wouldn't it have been wonderful if Peter had worshipped before he let down the net? Wouldn't it have been wonderful if Peter had went on and gave God glory when Jesus said launch out into the deep? But the Bible said that Peter didn't worship till he had seen the fishes. But I need somebody here today that's got faith, unspeakable faith. I mean that believe God is able. If you're here today and you truly believe he's able, I need somebody to go ahead and thank God for what he hadn't even done yet. Can you lift up your hand and give him glory for what he haven't even done yet? Ain't he all right? Ain't he all right? Shout yay if you know he's all right. Shout yay if you believe he's able. How many here know the word of God will stand anywhere? It'll stand in the courthouse. It'll stand in my house. It'll even stand in the White House. If you stand on the word of God, he's able. Do you know he's able? I'm glad I've got a Father who cares. I'm glad I've got a Father that loved me enough that he gave his life for me, because the record is that upon the word of God, he sent his only begotten Son. One Friday evening, upon the word of the Father, he laid down his life. And right early Sunday morning, he got up and declared, all power is in my hand. Do you know him? Ain't he all right? Have you tried him? Won't he make a way for you? I'm glad I've got a Father who cares for me. And I'm going to do what the Lord tells me to do. Storm may rise and wind may blow, but I got a Father who has my better half. I have a Father who has my best interest. And I'm glad I got somebody that'll rock me when I get weary. I'm glad I got somebody that'll wipe my weeping eyes. I'm glad I got somebody that'll heal my body. Do you have that somebody? Can you shout yeah? Do you know that somebody? Can you shout yeah? If you're not ashamed today, find you a neighbor. Put your arm around your neighbor and let your neighbor know that you're not ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ, but you got somebody that'll rock you when you get weary. Find a neighbor, rock them and shake them and rock them, and say, neighbor, I got somebody. Said, neighbor, I got somebody. Said, neighbor, I've got somebody. Shout yay! Let God have his way. Do what the Lord said do. There was a little boy starting school one day, and before he left home, his father gave him specific instruction. And so the father got up and went on to work. And when it was time to go to school, the little boy got up, got himself dressed, and went on and got ready to go to school. And so he got ready, locked the door, went on out to the bus stop. And when he got to the bus stop, there was an old man that comes and sat on his porch every morning. He noticed that the little boy was standing at what he thought was the bus stop. And so the old man shouted out to the little boy, "What are you doing?" He says, "Well, I'm waiting on the bus." Old man told the little boy, said, "Well, son, I hate to tell you, but the bus don't stop up here. But the bus stops down at my house. You might want to come down where I am, because you just might miss the bus." The little boy looked at the old man and said, "Mister, I don't want to disrespect you, but my daddy, before he left home this morning, told me to go up on the hill and wait here for the bus. I know you mean well, but I need to do what my daddy told me to do." He says, "Go ahead and do what your daddy told you to do, but I guarantee you'll be running in a few minutes." Lo and behold, the bus began to pull up and come up on the hill. Old man started laughing because he just knew that the bus was going to pass the little boy by. But the record is, the bus began to slow down when it got to the hill, and it came to a screeching halt, and the doors opened, and the little boy went in and took his seat. And by the time they got down in front of the old man's house, the little boy let down the window and looked out at the old man. He said, "Mister, I forgot to tell you that the driver of this bus is my daddy. And my daddy told me to stay right there. I stopped by to tell you, Jesus is your daddy. Stay with the Lord. Whatever the Lord said do what your daddy said do, and everything will be all right." Shout, "Yeah!"